Chapter 0, Lesson 3 on Numbers and Operations. Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is adding and subtracting decimals. So we are going to first line up the decimal places on top of each other. So even if the numbers don't completely line up their decimal places. Fill in any missing zeros. This is really important in subtraction. In addition, it doesn't quite matter because you're just adding in zeros. But in subtraction, sometimes if you subtract from a zero, it does matter. Then add or subtract normally, and then just bring your decimal straight down. So let's look at an example. I have 9.975 plus 9.95. So I'm going to recopy it going down, 9.975 plus 9.95. So I've lined up my decimals right here on top of each other. And now I'm going to fill in any missing zeros. Okay, there's one right there. So now I'm going to add 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry a 1, 19, carry a 1, 19. And then my decimal point, I'm going to bring straight down. This is why it's important to work neatly. And my answer is 19.925. Then the next one, I'm going to subtract 39.77 minus 26.934. Okay, fill in any missing zeros, because this one is really important because we have 0 minus 4. So I have to borrow from the 7, make that a 10. So I have 6, 3, and I have to borrow from the 9, and I have 8, 2, 1, and my decimal point I did in the middle came straight down. Just straight down to the bottom. Okay, now let's look at multiplying decimals. Multiplying decimals isn't too hard. We just multiply normally. We'll have to do some long multiplication. And then we do the kind of weird thing. We count how many digits are to the right of the decimal. And that's in the problem. And then is what I do is I go down to my answer and I make sure that I have the same number of zeros to the right of the decimal in my answer. And I can add in some zeros if I need to. So let's look at an example. I have 4.5 times 2.7. So times 2.7. So I'm just going to multiply normally. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 3 is 31. Fill in a 0. Use the 3s. So I have 10, 1, 9. So 5, 1, 12. So now what I do is I'm going to go back up and I'm going to say, okay, there's 2 numbers that are to the right of the decimal point. So in my answer, I need 2 numbers to the right of the decimal point, and my answer is 12.15. Okay, division is a little bit trickier, and it's important that we understand these 2 words, the dividend and the divisor. The dividend is the number that's being divided, and the divisor is the number that you're dividing by. So if I have 6 divided by 3, 6 is the number that I am dividing, that's being divided. All right, I'm dividing that up, and so that is the dividend. And then 3 is the number that I'm dividing by, so it's the divisor. We can also write it like this in a division house. And those of you that have done French math, we're going to be doing everything by American math this year. So it's important that you learn how. So I'm dividing the 6, so it is the dividend. And 3 is what we're dividing by, it's the divisor. All right, now our rules when we divide with decimals. The big rule is that the divisor cannot have any decimals. So if it doesn't have any decimals, just divide normally. Okay? If it does have decimals, you have to take that decimal point and move it all the way to the right. And then you have to count how many times you moved it, and you have to move it the same number of times in the dividend. And then you're just going to divide normally, do some long division, and then you just move your decimal point straight up for the answer. So let's look at an example. So I have 0.086 divided by 0.04. So again, this is my divisor out here. It has a decimal point. So I need to take that decimal point and I need to move it all the way over here to the right so that it becomes just a 4. So when I do that, I move it 2 places. So now it's a 4. I need to take this decimal point and also move it 2 places so it becomes 8.6. So you can do your problem right there, or you can rewrite it if it makes it easier for you. Because now I'm doing 4 divided into 8.6. So now I say, okay, 4 goes into 8 2 times. 8 subtract 0, 6. Goes in there once. 4, 2. I have to add a 0. 5, 20, 0. So now what I do is I take this decimal point and I'm going to just move it straight up. Again, important to work neatly. My answer is 2.15.